Imagine a world where you could literally just, buy a new personality.
Right, like walking into a store and picking one off a shelf.
Exactly. We are not talking about reading a self-help book or, adopting a new mindset. We were talking about walking into a physical market, swiping a credit chip, and renting someone else's courage for 20 minutes right before a high-stakes meeting.
Yeah, or if you have the funds, completely deleting your own deep-seated trauma, just wiping your mind and installing a fresh, perfectly curated identity.
It is wild. So you are about to enter Neo-Varanasi. Today's deep dive takes us into this brilliant cyberpunk novel titled The Dark Market of the Atman by Max and Claude.
It's such a dense, fascinating book.
It really is. And our mission here is to explore a truly mind-bending premise. Like what happens when a hyper-capitalist dystopian society accidentally rediscovers the ancient concept of the human soul.
And then, naturally, tries to slap a price tag on it.
Naturally, because capitalism, right?
Exactly. The authors throw us headfirst into a society utterly consumed by what they call the rendering economy.
The rendering economy, yeah.
Right. And this entire system is monopolized by a megacorporation known as Prajna Technologies. They have cracked the code on mapping the human mind with such terrifying precision that the self is rendered into just another, well, fungible commodity.
Which is a horrifying thought.
As the book so chillingly puts it, a human being becomes nothing more than a barrel of oil with a better conversation.
Oof, a barrel of oil. And our guide through the underbelly of this world is a character named Moksha. He is an underground black market fencer.
Yeah, he's a great protagonist for this.
He is. The first time we meet him, he is standing in an alleyway under rain that the authors describe as descending with intention. He is stressing out over a smuggled human kidney sitting in a cooler under his stall.
But the physical kidney is just the absolute lowest tier of this market.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this, because we need to understand how the terrifying machinery of commodifying the self actually works on a technical level.
Well, before we can even begin to understand the soul of this city, we have to tear open the machinery and look at the gears. The rendering economy runs on a proprietary process Prajna Technologies calls complete subjective mapping.
Complete subjective mapping, so they aren't just copying memories?
No, not at all. They're not merely copying a target's memories or, like, downloading their search history. They are extracting the phenomenological weight of an experience.
The actual feeling of it.
Exactly. The specific, irreplaceable flavor of a person's consciousness. When you buy that 20 minutes of courage you mentioned earlier, you are fundamentally overriding your own neurochemistry with the exact subjective feeling of bravery harvested from a donor.
It's so creepy, and the novel breaks the market down into these incredibly specific tiers. At the low end, you have those personality fragments.
Right, like the courage patch.
Yeah, it functions like taking a digital vitamin. Then moving up the economic ladder, you hit the mid-tier, which they call empathy tourism.
Empathy tourism. That is where the experiential transaction reaches a whole new level of voyeurism.
It really does.
A billionaire can purchase a 48-hour total sensory overlay of a factory worker's personality. The billionaire gets to experience the gritty, raw reality of manual labor and financial desperation without any of the actual risks.
While the laborer gets paid.
Right. The laborer is compensated by feeling what it is like to possess absolute financial security. The subjective experience is severed completely from the objective reality of the person living it.
But the high end is where the ethical floor completely falls out. Complete identity replacement.
Yeah, the total wipe.
A client can pay to wipe the person they currently are and install a totally different, stress-tested, socially optimized self. Now, I have to push back on the mechanics of this concept because the standard comparison is usually buying software, right?
The go-to analogy, yeah.
You wipe a computer's hard drive to install a brand new operating system. The hardware, the brain, and the body is the exact same, but the interface, the personality, is entirely different.
Right.
But if you completely wipe a human being's memories, traits, and emotional responses and replace their whole operating system, who is the you that is actually experiencing the new software?
That right there. That question is the precise structural flaw in Prajna Technologies' entire business model.
Oh, they actually acknowledge it.
They do. The corporation refers to it in their internal documents as the residual observer phenomenon.
Residual observer phenomenon, okay.
The underground philosophers in the novel, however, call it the Atman problem.
Which is such a brilliant collision of corporate jargon and ancient theology.
It really is. It reveals the limits of the rendering process. Even after a total personality wipe, After the old self is completely deleted and the new, pristine identity is installed, Prajna noticed a recurring glitch.
What kind of glitch?
There is still a quiet, completely unchanged witness sitting behind the eyes. It simply watches the new personality perform its programmed traits, completely untouched by the surgery of the market.
That is deeply unsettling.
Prajna's engineers initially thought this was just a technical limitation, some stubborn ghost in the machine that they could eventually, patch out.
Like a software bug?
Exactly. But they were inadvertently stumbling over the Atman, the ancient Vedic concept of the irreducible self. It is the awareness that watches awareness. The corporation cannot commodify it because the Atman is the very space in which the commodification is happening.
Wow. You cannot put a price tag on the canvas when you are only in the business of selling the paint.
That's a great way to put it.
But someone in the underground is apparently trying to sell it anyway. This brings us to the inciting incident of the narrative. Moksha has this reliable courier, a 19-year-old kid named Prem, who routinely runs mundane contraband for him.
Right, the kid with the cooler.
Well, Prem disappears into the depths of the market for 9 hours, and when he finally staggers back to the stall, he is fundamentally altered. He looks at Moksha with this terrifying, serene clarity and simply states, "I bought myself."
I bought myself. It's such a chilling line.
It really is. And following right on the heels of that impossible statement, a mysterious broker in a light-absorbing matte black coat approaches Moksha's stall.
The broker leaves a seamless black case.
Yeah, he slides this case across the counter. It contains a new, completely unnamed product.
And what's inside is?
Well, when Moksha cracks the case open, it initially looks empty, but it is actually a mirror, only it doesn't reflect light and it doesn't reflect his physical face.
What does it reflect?
It reflects pure attention. When Moksha looks into it, he doesn't see the cynical, hardened, black market fencer he has spent years becoming. He feels the irreducible, original version of himself.
He makes contact with the self that existed before the rendering economy ever got its hooks into him.
Exactly.
This creates an immediate paradox for Moksha. The surface world of Neo-Varanasi, with its endless data processing centers and sterile identity clinics, possesses zero framework for a product that fundamentally cannot be rendered.
So what does he do?
To trace the supply chain of this impossible mirror, Moksha realizes he has to physically, economically, and conceptually descend into the darkest, most hidden depths of the market.
Because the surface reality is entirely inadequate to explain this mirror, we follow Moksha on this grueling descent through the lokas.
The locus, yeah.
The vertical, stratified levels of this underground reality. It is a geographical journey, sure, but it is deeply psychological.
Let's map the architecture of the underground he traverses, because it reflects the unpeeling of the human ego.
Okay, let's do it.
The first level he enters is Mahar-loka. This represents the tangible street-level market. It is visceral and wet. The kidneys and coolers, the stolen biometric chips, the physical hardware of human existence.
Right, and then he moves past the flesh and descends into Mahar-loka. This is the transition into the digital and the abstract.
Yeah, the architecture of Mahar-loka is vast and immaterial, illuminated purely by raw data streams. This is the realm of information about things rather than the things themselves.
So this is where the personality libraries are.
Exactly. It houses the massive personality libraries and the stolen memory archives. But Moksha cannot stop there.
Yes, to keep going down.
Guided by a subterranean broker, he steps through a literal threshold that functions as a portal into Mahar-loka. This is the live stream consciousness market.
The depiction of Mahar-loka completely blew my mind.
It's incredible writing.
When Moksha steps into this space, his individual boundaries just evaporate. He is suddenly, simultaneously experiencing the lives of multiple other people live.
Live all at once.
Yes. He feels what it is like to be a woman standing on a rooftop, meticulously cataloging chemical light. At the exact same fraction of a second, he is a 7-year-old child in the slums eating a bowl of orange food with this absolute, pure, present tense joy.
And concurrently, he is a grueling factory worker feeding physical bodies into a rendering machine.
All three realities processed at once without any mental friction. Think about how rigidly you guard your own boundaries in your daily life, how heavily you rely on the barrier between your mind and everyone else's.
Right, the separation.
In Mahar-loka, that barrier is exposed as a total fiction.
What's fascinating here is how Mahar-loka systematically shatters the illusion that the self is a sealed container. The entire hypercapitalist rendering economy is built on the foundational premise that you are a closed box.
Because if you're a box, you can be sold.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because you are a closed box, your contents, your specific memories, your unique quirks, your bespoke traumas can be individually packaged, priced, and sold.
Right.
But Moksha's experience in Svarloka reveals consciousness to be a shared river. The Atman is the single body of water, and these highly curated, heavily defended individual personalities are nothing more than temporary waves rising and falling on the surface.
The narrative tension the authors build here is just incredible. You have this cutthroat, ruthlessly individualistic capitalist system,
Oh, it's entirely.
but in its relentless, greedy drive to map and commodify every single microscopic human experience, it has accidentally generated the empirical proof that individuality is an illusion. The walls between the consumer and the consumed aren't actually real.
Those walls are entirely constructed by what the philosophers in the novel call the selecting attention.
The selecting attention.
Yeah, it is the ego constantly, exhaustingly drawing a boundary line to declare, this is me and that is not me. But the profound revelation in Svarloka is merely the antechamber to the truth.
There's more.
Oh yeah. To find the actual source code of the Atman product, Moksha has to dive one level deeper. He has to reach the bedrock of the market itself.
Right, so he descends into Mahar-loka. At this point, it is no longer a physical climb down a maintenance shaft or a server rack. It is a fundamental shift in the quality of reality itself.
He steps outside of physical space.
Basically, he finds himself standing in a dark space, but the authors describe it as a darkness that is prior to light. It is foundational, and there is a market here, arranged in this massive ancient spiral of stalls.
But the vendors aren't selling normal things.
Not at all. The sellers are not hawking data or organs. One vendor is trading in pure silence. Another is facilitating the total dissolution of the ego.
And sitting in the dust at the very center of this spiral is an old man with vast, completely open, unblinking eyes.
Who is he?
This figure tells Moksha he can call him Shiva, or Brahman, or the Atman, or if he prefers, simply the market. He's the absolute source from which all the data and all the flesh above him emanate.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. If the Atman, the irreducible soul, the pure witness, is already inside you, if it is the very thing looking out of your eyes, what exactly is this deep market selling? I mean, how do you swipe a credit chip to buy what you already fundamentally are?
That is the ultimate paradoxical question Moksha brings to Shiva. And the answer reveals the great cosmic joke at the heart of the novel.
A cosmic joke.
Yes, the market at the bottom of Mahar-loka does not sell the Atman. It cannot. What the market sells is the recognition of the Atman.
Oh, the recognition.
Remember Prem, the 19-year-old courier who started this whole journey? Moksha demands to know what Prem actually paid to reclaim his true self. Shiva replies that Prem paid the only currency that matters down here.
Which is?
Full attention.
He paid with full attention. It is not about accumulating a new trait. It is about paying with your focus.
Exactly. It requires the complete surrender of the selective, ego-driven attention that constantly filters reality to serve your own daily agendas.
So you have to stop trying to be someone.
The novel argues that when you finally stop obsessively curating your identity, when you drop the exhausting round-the-clock performance of maintaining your rendered self, what naturally remains is the Atman.
It was there the whole time.
It never left. It was just obscured by the noise of the transaction.
So the mechanism of the purchase is actually a surrender. You buy your true self back by giving up the deeply held illusion that you ever lacked it in the first place.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the authors are brilliantly weaponizing the profound Vedantic concepts of Leela and Maya.
Leela and Maya.
You don't need a theology degree to grasp the implications here, because the novel makes them entirely visceral. Leela is the divine play, and Maya is the illusion of the material world. But the authors aren't placing this divine play in some pastoral ancient setting. The neon-drenched grime of Neo-Varanasi, the oppressive extraction of the rendering economy, the suffering of the factory workers, it is all Brahman.
It's all part of the game.
It is the absolute reality, playing a massive, brutal, incredibly intricate, cosmic game of hide-and-seek with itself. Shiva explains to Moksha that the massive corporate machine of Prajna technologies simply looked deeply enough into the mirror of its own extraction process and finally caught a glimpse of its own true face.
It makes me think of experiencing a terrifying, hyper-realistic, lucid dream.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You are in a nightmare, right? Being chased by a monster. Your heart is pounding. You are sweating. You are completely consumed by the terror of the chase.
Because you think it's real.
Exactly. The moment of liberation in a lucid dream isn't turning around and killing the monster. The liberation is the sudden, crystal clear realization that you are the dreamer, sleeping safely in your bed. The monster, the dark forest, and the version of you that is running away are all made of the exact same material, your own mind. You can let the dream continue, but the terror instantly evaporates because you understand the nature of the reality you are inhabiting.
That captures the essence of Moksha's realization perfectly. He understands that he is the ocean, playing a very convincing game of being a wave.
A wave that forgot it was water.
Exactly. He is the absolute ground of reality, currently dressed up in the costume of a cynical, underground fencer worrying about a kidney in a cooler.
But that brings us to the hardest, most practical part of the narrative. Having that profound realization in the dark depths of Mahar-loka is one thing. But how do you actually live your life in a hyper-commodified dystopian city on a Tuesday morning once you know the entire economy is a cosmic joke?
Right, because Moksha still has to ride the elevator back up to the surface.
He does.
This is where the novel executes its most brilliant subversion of the standard cyberpunk tropes. In a typical hero's journey, Moksha would ride that elevator up, gather a resistance, and blow the Prajna Technologies headquarters sky high.
Right, burn it all down.
Or he would dismantle the corrupt system, or, failing that, he would flee the city entirely and run off to a cave in the mountains to meditate in perfect isolation.
The ultimate anticlimax of enlightenment, he explicitly chooses not to do any of that.
No, he doesn't.
He takes the elevator back up to the rain-soaked streets, walks over to his usual stall in the Ashwa market, places the black case with the mirror on his counter, and he just opens for business.
Because to destroy the market with explosives or to run away from it in fear would be a fundamental misunderstanding of the game.
Oh, I see.
It would prove that he still takes the illusion of Maya too seriously.
Yeah.
Instead, Moksha applies what the text calls double vision.
Double vision.
He looks out at the surface reality, the frantic commerce, the tangible pain, the daily grind of the rendering economy. But he simultaneously sees the immutable ground of reality humming beneath it all. He transforms from a smuggler into a guide, quietly helping other individuals make their own descent.
So what does this all mean for the sprawling infrastructure of Neo-Varanasi? How does one guy sitting at a wet market stall with an empty mirror actually ripple through a rigid, hyper-capitalist system that spans millions of citizens?
It initiates systemic ripples from the inside out. The people who make the descent and return do not start loud, violent rebellions.
They don't protest.
No. They change the system on a cellular level by applying that exact double vision to their mundane, daily corporate jobs.
The specific examples the authors provide are so moving. Like, there is Vok, a man whose entire job in the digital market is compiling lexicons and dictionaries for the traders.
Then what does he do?
After his descent, he doesn't quit. Instead, he starts quietly writing a new glossary for the market that introduces words for the uncommodifiable. He defines concepts like silence and liberation and ground so that the frantic traders suddenly possess the language to articulate the emptiness they're feeling.
That's beautiful. And then consider Jyoti, a corporate librarian who has spent 12 years meticulously cataloging millions of commodified personality fragments.
Right.
Following her realization, she doesn't burn down the data centers. She realizes that every single artificial personality trait on file, no matter how shallow or synthetic, is just another beautiful temporary expression of the Atman.
So she just leaves it.
Well, she subtly modifies the database. She adds a new hidden section to the archive called The Ground, quietly cataloging the divine presence that is buried within every single map itself.
Oh, I love that. And my absolute favorite act of rebellion comes from Arjun. He is a mid-level corporate assessor whose job is to rate the quality of live-streamed consciousness for Prajna.
Right, evaluating the streams.
Yeah. He goes right back to his cubicle, but on every single corporate assessment form he files, he adds a tiny, seemingly innocuous notation at the very bottom. He just writes, ground present.
Ground present.
He is systematically reminding the market infrastructure that beneath every single commodified, hyper-curated experience, the untradeable soul is sitting right there. The ocean always comes with the wave.
This raises an incredibly important question regarding the mechanics of capitalism, though. How does a massive, profit-driven megacorporation handle a sudden outbreak of enlightenment?
They can't be happy about it.
Well, eventually, the surface economy detects the anomaly. Prajna Technologies analysts realize that a small but growing subset of their consumers are suddenly well satisfied.
The worst thing for a market.
Exactly. They are still existing in the market, but the desperate, frantic consumption fueled by inadequacy has vanished. The very engine of the rendering economy, which relies entirely on people feeling broken or incomplete, starts to stall.
So the megacorp deploys their chief extraction officer to neutralize the threat. Her name is Ananda, and the irony here is rich, as she is tasked with extracting the one thing that can't be held. She goes down to interrogate Moksha.
And in her attempt to quantify the anomaly, Ananda ends up making the descent into Mahar-loka herself. She meets Shiva at the center of the spiral.
And she wakes up too.
She does. She realizes that her ruthless corporate title and her true, infinite self are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist in the realm of Leela. When she returns to the C-suite on the surface, she does not dismantle Prajna Technologies.
Which is such a wild narrative choice. You would entirely expect the awakened executive to tear the company down from the inside.
Instead, she executes a massive philosophical pivot. She subtly shifts the entire company's official corporate framing.
How so?
For 60 years, the rendering market's core narrative was basically you are lacking, you are broken, buy this personality trait to become complete. Ananda alters the global messaging to acknowledge the ground.
So what's the new message?
The new corporate ethos becomes, you're already entirely complete. This product simply serves to decorate the self you already are. She successfully co-opts the Enlightenment, but in doing so, she evolves the fundamental nature of the market.
It shifts from violently extracting desperation to gently facilitating recognition.
Exactly.
It is a breathtaking synthesis of ideas. The ultimate takeaway from the dark market of the Atman is that true liberation, the real moksha, is never about escaping your life, quitting your job, or fleeing the complex, messy systems we are all embedded in.
Right.
It is about participating in those systems completely, but armed with the profound, freeing knowledge of your true nature. You do not have to stop being a wave, you just have to remember that you are the ocean.
It perfectly encapsulates the ultimate paradox. The deepest, most profound spiritual truth is uncovered at the absolute bottom of the most cynical, extraction-based capitalist machine imaginable.
Which leaves us with a fascinating, lingering thought to explore long after you step away from this deep dive. We spent this time discussing a fictional corporation that perfectly mapped the human mind, only to accidentally stumble upon the irreducible soul.
Yeah.
But look at our own rapidly advancing reality. Every day, predictive algorithms and AI are becoming terrifyingly adept at mapping our behaviors, our desires, our next clicks. They are mapping our superficial, ego-driven selves with unprecedented precision.
They really are.
As these machines get better and better at perfectly predicting everything we think makes us unique, will our own technology eventually hit its own Atman problem? Will the very algorithms designed to exploit our predictable egos become the ultimate mirrors, accidentally proving to us that our rendered personalities are just code and forcing us to search for the deeper, unpredictable ground within ourselves?